the recap of episode 1 and episode 2. The journey of learning, the journey of improvement, self-development. They say the biggest room in the world is the room for self-development. And the journey of self-development or improving your own self is a journey very exciting because it doesn't tend to perfection. It always gives you a scope to get better and better every day. Imagine you became perfect. What would happen? Because the purpose of us being in this world is not to gain perfection. Perfection doesn't belong to us, right? But there's a scope for getting better every day. So this beautiful journey of learning how imperfect we are is one of the key ingredients that motivates human beings to look at the impossible. There's a beautiful saying, to discover the limits of the possible, a human being must go into the impossible. Jab tak we keep exploring the limits, we get into the impossible and keep extending the limits. There's an ocean of knowledge. There's an ocean of improvement. There's an ocean of greatness to be achieved, and that's one of the greatest gift to us from God, that He has given us the choice to get better every day. So I'll move forward with the quick recap of the last 2 episodes, though I may not be able to cover everything, but just to have some of the participants who have joined today, I would like to recap, but would like to also inform you that both these episodes will be available on YouTube and the link will be shared with you all. So the first episode, if we quickly summarize, the intent which we pronounced on the day, the episode 1, was that most of the world belongs to the 80%. Few people who are known as the extraordinary belong to the 20%. There's a very clear distinction between these 2 categories of people. So our endeavor in learning development is to move from the 80% styles, types to the 20% ones. And one of the key things which I discussed in the episode 1 is this important word called the state of being, halat, state, which is so powerful that if at all a human being is able to manage and control and convert his state into a resourceful one, he or she will be able to achieve much higher in life. So our endeavor throughout these 8 episodes will be quite focused on state, how to manage your own state, because that's the only thing which you can manage. You have the capability and the resources to manage that, right? And why do you need to manage? Why do you want to be in a resourceful state? Because as the name suggests, it gives you the power to do a lot of goodness and greatness, right? And that's one of the purpose of human beings being here. In the episode 2, I demonstrated the example of the brain working or processing visuals 60,000 times faster than words or text. So we also did that exercise of don't imagine a pink donkey. When I said don't imagine a pink donkey, we understood that the brain processed the picture quick. Don't doesn't have a picture, so it drops off. Imagine the pink donkey has a very clear picture, so you tend to imagine the pink donkey, though the command was not to do it, right? So it proves that our brain is very sharp and very quick in processing visuals, right? This is one of the things we need to understand when we are synchronizing words with the visuals, because visual leads to action. So I also explained that when you use a word like pentagon, what happens for some people who have just completed their exams or who are fortunate enough to have skipped their exams because of this current situation, especially who are from the science with mathematics as one of the subjects, they imagine the pentagon in the shape. Whereas some who have seen the actual pentagon building would imagine like this. So word can be processed, or a single word can be processed very differently by each of us. So this is very important to understand. Why while interacting with your own self as well as people, a lot of miscommunication happens because we just take word literally, right? We assume if I'm using a word and I am able to understand the word like this, I expect the other person also to understand it in the same way. So I'm trying to tell you, no, that doesn't happen. Usually there's miscommunication or conflicts because we understand words, we imagine, we frame, we have a construct inside our brains which actually puts language structures together, right? Imagine a building exactly like the building. Language is also constructed exactly like that in our nervous system. So it's got brick mortar, it's got pillars. So you've got all these the letters, the words, the sentences which form the construction, right? So we'll have to be sensitive if we want to really move from the 80% into the 20%. This is one of the skills we need to understand. And when people talk about communication, they usually only talk about talking. It's much, much, much beyond. And I myself have been studying communication for the last 11 to 12 years, and I still find myself not even touching the drop in the ocean. So, as we said in the episode 2, words have immense power. And though words happen to be 7% of the entire communication, फिर भी इनके अंदर जबरदस्त ताकत है, जबरदस्त power है. And if imagine you have power and you don't know how to use it. So we spoke about knowledge being power, like almost like fire. Knowledge being used wrongly can make us burn things. It can actually lead to disaster. So power ko acha istemal karna, using it in the right way is very important. So I gave you an example of a kid climbing the tree where the parents shouted, "Don't leave," and the kid left because "don't" doesn't have a picture and "leave" has a picture. So the kid automatically left hands and fell down. Whereas the psychologist said, he reversed the entire conversation and said, he put the kid again on the branch and said, "Hold tight." So the kid held tight. So this is the way we need to analyze and understand words, that words have immense power. I also requested you all to list out common negative words in your conscious, unconscious vocabulary, right? I gave you a list of words, and then I told you to also go through your own selves to understand. See, why it's so important. It's so important because unconsciously हम लोग इतने गलत अल्फाज dish out करते हैं. We talk such immense negative words, but because that has an impact on our own system directly. What we say enters our ears first. Remember this. What we say internally or externally, it enters our external or internal ears, and that has an immense impact. Words have immense impact. So I hope you have done your good work at home. So I'm not going to follow up with this. I would recommend that you have a buddy to do this work along with you, which will make it more effective. So I told you to replace those words which are not very, good in terms of the vocabulary. Replace them. Negative words ko replace karo. Put a better word, right? I gave you an example of fine, for example. When people ask, "How are you?" you usually tend to say fine. It sounds so cliche, right? So I also gave an example of Mr. Lobo, who used to say, if I ask him, "How are you, Mr. Lobo?" he would say, "Habeeb, I'm so good. If I were any better, I would be twins." So there's a way in which extraordinary people communicate to themselves as well as to the world, right? So bring in good, beautiful language, beautiful words into your vocabulary, and see what kind of a transformation it creates for yourself and for the people, and what kind of impact you can create in people, right? So I hope you've done that. And that's about the recap of episode 1 and 2. Move on to episode 3, clean your slate. It's a very, very important phase. It's a bit difficult. This episode is a bit difficult. For me, it is difficult to explain. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to do justice, but I'll try. And it could be a bit, a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit difficult to comprehend. And I hope you can comprehend. And I hope if there is, a requirement for refreshing a few of these points, I will try to do it, right? Hold tight. As I requested, laser focus, please. Laser focus will give you a lot of result. Be sincere. You're sitting at a place where you're not accountable to anybody, right? Look at this. This is an investment for your own self. This is an investment. I mean, I have seen immense transformation in my own self from the background I came and to what I'm doing right now by God's grace. These things are the things which you need to feed into your mind, body, and soul. This is very important, food for your entire system. So give focus, please. So we come, when I say clean your slate, I also would like to tell you that when you pick up, for the people who paint, if you wish to paint, you would never pick up an already existing painting and try to paint on top of it, right? You will pick up a clean slate or a clean canvas and try to make a beautiful painting on it. Our life is exactly like that. Some people ask me, why do you need to have these kind of learning programs? बार बार वही चीज बताते हो यार, तुम क्या नया बताते हो? You, what is it that you say? It's so different. Why do you have to? Why do we have to listen to this whole thing again and again? So my question to them is very simple. Why do you have to have a bath every day? Simple, right? We have a bath to clean our physical being. We need to be engaged in learning development programs because we need to clean our inside our heads, the mind, the emotions, the thought process, and the entire constructs which I've been talking to you needs a refreshment, needs a cleansing. So that's the reason we need to be in programs often, though we listen to the same things again and again. So I invite you to pick up from today a clean slate in life. And how do you clean? I'll give you a few tools, and I'm sure you people are, and I'm not telling you these are the only tools. These are few of the tools. There could be many other tools you could implement. Whatever you do, get cleaning, periodic cleaning done of your slate. Wipe it off. You have that, whiteboard पे भी आप marker से लिखते हैं, तो you usually pick up a duster and wipe it off, right, to write something else. Exactly, that's what you need to do time and again with your own selves. Otherwise, you'll end up carrying a lot of heavy baggage. And you know what? If you see this guy who's going to travel, he's going to take off to some destination. I'm sure, this will be a very uncomfortable flight for him because he's got so many suitcases and all that baggage and luggage around him, right? If you really want to fly high, if you want to fly, high and long, and you want to fly comfortable, you want to take a journey in this life which is going to be really resourceful, then you need to fly light, right? You always see this in the airports where they say travel light. That's one of the things. But you know what? We know very well how to travel light when we take a journey. But in life, we all carry a lot of baggage. Once in a way, we need to put the baggage down. We need to offload the baggage. There was a beautiful experiment a teacher did with some students. She gave all the students a bag of tomatoes, right? She gave all the students a bag of tomatoes each and said, please carry these tomatoes with you when you go to your home and bring them back tomorrow and do this ritual every single day. So the first day, the kids, they didn't understand the experiment, the entire exercise. So they carried the tomatoes, they took it home, and the next day they brought it back. So some of the tomatoes had started, falling off and losing their shape. And so one day everybody was okay, and they were excited, and they were talking about the bag of tomatoes. The second day, some of the tomatoes started rotting. Then it started giving out a smell. And third day, it was unbearable. The parents were telling, what the hell is your teacher doing? And when they came to the class, the entire class was stinking. It was unbearable. So they said, ma'am, what is all this about? So she turned around and said, dear kids, you notice that when I gave you a bag of tomatoes, you carried it back and forth. But over just a couple of days, the entire tomatoes started stinking, right? This is about tomatoes. Imagine the tomatoes you're carrying inside your conscious and unconscious mind. Anything which you carry about others, which is negative, anything which you carry about others or your own self, which is negative, is going to eventually stink. It's going to create damage for you. So once in a way, you need, in fact, every single day, if you can do this, it is fantastic. It is one of the best things you can do. So as I said, any baggage is harmful. Now, I'll be giving you tips on how to, look at these things from a psychological perspective or from a little extra knowledge perspective, but keep it simple. Remember the tomatoes. I think that's the simplest metaphor you can give. Don't carry too many tomatoes all the time with yourself because they are eventually going to stink. So it's not worthwhile. It's going to make your journey miserable. It's going to make you miserable. It's going to make your environment miserable. So drop the tomatoes, chuck them off once in a way. What are these tomatoes? We'll just get into that, right? So I'm showing a journey. Anybody, you ask anybody in this world, how's your life? They will have more of complaints than compliment. They will always say that this is the problem, wo problem, ye problem. They will count out all the problems and probably a couple of instances where things are going well, hunky dory. That's life here. This is not paradise. This is a world where we are sent to be tested, to prove our mettle, to become better every single day and prove our shine. And that entire process is not going to be a smooth journey. It's going to be an uphill, right? And imagine walking normally on a plane itself is so difficult, carrying a baggage. Imagine you're climbing uphill with a baggage. Ridiculous, right? It's sheer stupidity, right? So I also gave you in the first episode an understanding of how a human being has different states. States ke baad I gave a little explanation of the other states as well, which are, one is we have a physical body. Physical state is our own body. It's the vehicle of our soul, right? Then we, as we keep developing, we develop something which is called the mental state, which is our knowledge. We gain knowledge, we improve, we learn, we start walking, we start talking, we start comprehending stuff. That's the next stage where we dwell into our mental state, and we develop our mind. And then as we keep interacting, we start developing the emotions. Emotions are already there, but we develop them to a large extent. We start interacting with our own selves and people, and that has an impact. Dil ka mamla hota hai, emotions. So you have the mind, and then you have the heart of the matter, and then you have the spiritual state where a human being naturally starts progressing towards a higher purpose. So these are the four states. Now, this is a very important slide. Please give attention. This is a very important slide. I have integrated two very powerful sciences on this slide. The integration is thus, if you want to really grow from just being a mere physical being in this world to a higher level, right? If you really want to move up, because you have people across the world, people who are multimillionaires, but they have just lived that physical state, right? They just don't have any purpose in their life. They've just got money, and they've got brands, and they've got fashion. But if you actually talk to them, they don't have any substance, right? They have not moved up from the physical state. So if you really want to take the journey of, trying to get a good balance or a good hang of all these four states, then just look at this beautiful science called it's called multiple intelligence. Okay, this science is multiple intelligence. So I'm integrating this with NLP. There are 7 multiple intelligences in human being identified. It's called MI. It's a theory of MI. It was developed by Howard Gardner in Harvard in 1983. It's a very popular science used across the world in behavioral sciences and especially in the education world, right? Now, as I keep taking you through each intelligence, try to relate it to the body, mind, heart, and soul, right? So this is what a human being consists of, these 7 intelligences. And the more we access into these intelligences, the more better human being we become, the more understanding we get of our own selves and the surroundings. So it is a good thought process to have a dig into these 7 intelligences. Okay, about how the intelligences interact with us is something else I would like to discuss on another day. I wouldn't like to go into the multiple intelligence theory right now. Probably some other day we will have a couple of sessions on MI itself. But for now, just related to these 4 states, having the access to these intelligence. First, physical state. When you look at your physical being, there's something intelligent about your physical being itself. Like some of the people, when they run, they are more agile. Then they look around, they have more understanding of their environment, right? If a ball is thrown at them, they catch quickly. These are the intelligences, like for example, Sachin Tendulkar is a very supreme body smart guy, right? His physical state or physical quotient, body smartness is very high. I don't know how many of you know he was very bad in maths, right? So one of the things we need to understand is that we have some an access to being bodily smart. This is one of the intelligences. The second intelligence is a group of intelligences which work on our mind. One is word, which is language, picturization, visualization, then sound, understanding of sound, right? And understanding of numbers. All these four have an immense impact on the brain, our mind, our thought processes. It has an immense impact. These are called word smart, picture smart, sound smart, and number smart. In actually MI, it is a little more complicated. The word vocabulary is a bit complicated. So for body smart, they say bodily kinesthetic. Number smart, they say mathematical intelligence. For sound smart, they say musical intelligence. For picture smart, they say spatial intelligence. And for word smart, they say linguistic intelligence. So I've made it very simple in terms of giving you normal words, normal phrases. So this जो purple में आपको दिख रहा है, that is related to the mind. The one in the orange is related to the body. Body smart hai. Then you have these four intelligences, and then you have, it's called interpersonal and intrapersonal. Self smart and others smart. How you deal with your own self and how you deal with others. ये आपके 7 intelligences हुए. If we are able to gain a level of mastery or a level of understanding about all these 7, we will be able to balance out physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual states, and we will be able to rise above the crowd and be better human beings. And ultimately, what does this lead to? And this is irrespective of your background, religion. I'm just giving you a generic framework. And once you're able to scale up on these aspects, what will happen to you? You'll be clear about your purpose. You'll be purposefully driven, right? And that is an amazing place to be in, when you're purposefully driven in life, irrespective of what job you do. I hope you've got this clear, because this is one of the most important slides of today. I will dwell into this more in depth later on, but for now, please focus on this slide. Have this slide. We will be sharing the PDF with you. Have this slide and start doing. Some of you can go and read or try to look at multiple intelligences on the YouTube. Of course, MI or multiple intelligence is a science in itself. I'm trying to integrate it with NLP because they're like cousins basically. Let's move forward now. What would my next few sessions be with you? One, I told you the power of words, right? That was word smart, becoming word smart. So similarly, I'll be taking you into a journey where how you should be picture smart, sound smart, and all the other smarts. I'll be giving tips on those. But before that, since the topic today is about clean your slate, I'm going to dwell into a bit of conflicts, because right now, at the moment, across the world, staying at home, we are creating a lot of conflict, right? We need to understand and resolve these things quickly. So I'm giving you this as clean your slate every single day, because you're with the same people in the same house, and these people are very important to you, right? So conflicts do happen. Conflicts can happen anytime, and they can go to any degree. So how, as a person who's trying to move from 80% of this world's population, who are sort of dwelling their lives without much of a plan, how can you differentiate yourself and move out of that, become the 20%, become the change agents, become people who can drive and lead your families, your homes, rather than succumb to these conflicts? In fact, I told you in the first episode about transactional analysis, which is जिसके अंदर मैंने आपको बताया कि we all have these behaviors: parent like behavior, adult like behavior, and kids like behavior. All the three behaviors are there, and they pop up, and that gives rise to our states of being, right? I gave you that. So this left side में आप जो देख रहे हैं, it's a crossed interaction or cross transaction or a conflict where a person on the left side, left extreme side, is asking a simple question, right, to the person on the right. So he is coming from an adult state, right? He's asking, how are you? The other person, that is on the person on the right side, is answering. He should have typically answered from the adult state, right? He should have said, I'm fine, or I'm doing well, and thank you so much for asking. That would be a normal adult response. But where is the response? Because probably that person is not in a resourceful state, has a conflict, or has a prejudice, or has some kind of assumptions, or has a bad experience previously. The person responds, why do you care? So that person on the right side is coming from the child behavior. Child also, in that you have two children, right? You have two kind of behavior. Child is, one is the free child or the natural child, and on the other side is the adapted child or the rebellious child, right? So here it is more like a rebellious child questioning. So what happens next? After this, it's going to be a conflict, right? It's the starting point of a conflict. So what happens in conflicts? Conflicts either arise because you have a baggage, or if you get into a conflict, can cause a baggage. And I'm sure you'll agree to this. It's not a rocket science to understand this. It gives rise to a baggage, or it arises from a baggage. So that's something about conflict. So you should be conscious of this fact, right? So coming from 20%, the identity of being in the 20%, your endeavor in life should be always to see to it that you can either resolve a conflict or avoid the conflict. And how can that be done? Either being from the state of being an adult, or from the state of being a nurturing parent, not a critical parent, right? So baggage is very dangerous. So if you have to carry baggage, every conflict will give you one baggage. Then you'll carry another baggage. And then a lot of people, if you see, they are sick and tired of others, right? Because they're carrying so much of baggage about people around them that they've built the baggage so heavy that they're not ready to offload the baggage about those people at all. And then it is a point of no return. The conflict gets into a deeper conflict and breaks up relationships, and it's a permanent damage. So that's why I thought this is a very relevant topic to be spoken about. Cleaning your slate is so critical. Now, we also should understand that what are the things which can cause conflicts, right? Because usually we don't know why sometimes after the conflict is over, we say, "Aisa kyun hua yaar? Samajh mein nahi aa raha." When we cool down, when we've had the fight, when we've finished all that drama, and then we sit down and we try to think, say, yeah, why the heck did I behave like this? I mean, I can't believe that I behaved like this, right? It happens to me as well. So we sit down. So if we are able to understand that conflicts happen probably because of some of these reasons, then you can be a little more alert in identifying that upcoming conflict hai, this is going to turn into a conflict, and you can be more in control of the situation, right? So one of the causes is reactive communication. As you saw above, how are you? Why do you care? This kind of communication can spark a conflict. That's the basic root cause. That's the way you use words, basically, right? That's the first. Second one, prejudice, discrimination, partiality, and things like that. When I'll give you an example. If you just think about this, okay? You dislike somebody. You just dislike somebody for various reasons. If that person does the best of the thing in the world, also you don't like it. Same thing, you really like somebody, okay? That person does something chota mota good act, it looks like a great act to you, right? This is prejudice, where you're not looking at the act in its pure form. You are looking at the act through the lens of the person who delivered the act. So you're saying, if you don't like somebody, even if the person does a noble act, you say, "Arey chodo yaar." But the moment you see somebody you really love does something small, some good chota mota act, you say, "Wow, what a great act." That's prejudice. That can lead to conflict, right? We have to be very truthful truthful in dealing with people in this aspect, and it's better to have truth in your hand all the time. Third, values can create a lot of conflict of values ही बोलते हैं इसको, where I believe in something and you believe in something else, or I value something and you don't follow those values, or you follow certain values and I don't have those values. That can create a conflict. I don't know who put that beautiful blue design on the screen. Other one is competition. You remember, if you remember episode 1, I shared with you that one of the biggest discovery I had in my life was to stop competing with others. How did I understand that? I understood that from people who are achievers, the 20% people, especially who are the toppers, right? So when I spoke to some of these people, I said, "What's your key to performing so well?" They said, "I try to compete with myself. The last best I did, I want to beat that." So what about the others? So, wow, boss, I don't have time to compete with my own self. Where will I compete with others? Most of the world, and most of the 80% of the world, compete with others. And it is so tough to compete with others because there's so many of them to compete with. It's better to compete with yourself. Stop competing with others. So competition usually leads to a lot of rubbish. The other thing is pride, jealousy, power struggle, basically having a bad heart. There are people, how much ever you try, they have a bad heart. So these people can cause conflict. I hope we are not one among them. So intend goodness all the time, even if it has to allow you to compromise on certain things. And if you have identified people who are, obsessively having this pride, jealousy, power struggle, and stuff like that, keep away from them. Wish them and just keep away. Right? That's one of the smartest things you can do, wisest things you can do. Spend your time in the company of people who do not have a bad heart, and you can identify souls very easily. It's not very difficult. We are very resourceful in understanding people, very, very resourceful. Before even we interact and transact with people, our inner self, our inner being would have already scanned and understood the other person. Well, it's not about being judgmental, right? But it's that sense you get. It's that sixth sense or the seventh sense you get, where इसकी मेरी जमने वाली नहीं है, तो दूर रखो, हाय बाय बोल के दूर रहो. This is one of the reasons conflict can happen. Hormonal imbalance होता है, तो people can go haywire for no reason. There could be no reason. And all these things, if you see, they are leading to what? Unresourceful state. All these things. I mean, I didn't say only these are the only reasons conflicts are caused. No, there's a disclaimer. There could be a lot of other reasons, conflicts, but these are the predominant ones which are very easy to understand. Conflicts ऐसे होते हैं कि इन चीजों से start होते हैं. So if you are able to identify a conflict going to happen, then you have to switch to what? Adult mode, and either adult or nurturing parent. If you do that, immediately you will be in control, and probably there are high chances that the other person who is intending a conflict will have no space to create the conflict at all. Try it. It works wonders. So another thing, quick tip for you guys and girls there, the ABC of state change. How do you change your state? So I put it in very simple format. So ABC yaad rakhiye, okay? First thing, awareness. If you want to make a change of your state or your behavior, first thing you have to be aware of the current state. You have to say that I am getting into an upset state. I'm getting into an angry state. I'm getting into an emotionally upset state. You need to identify the people who don't, I had this experience my own self. I'd been to a doctor, and those days it was a hectic schedule, and me and my wife had been to a doctor, and the doctor, and I was trying to express my, the schedule and the kind of pressure I was handling and all that. And immediately the doctor said, "You seem to be in a very stressed condition." The moment he said that, I said, "What are you talking? I'm absolutely not stressed. Who are you to tell me that I'm stressed?" And I went on. I was so aggressive with him. And he was smiling. because I was actually proving that I was highly stressed, but I was not accepting it, right? The day I accepted that, yes, I have a level of stress I need to deal with, that's the day I started working on my own self. I hope you get what I'm saying. So, to accept your own state and the weakness you are in is one of the first step to improvement. Second, break your old state. You are very familiar, very intelligent people. We all, I mean, I put myself there as well. We all are very intelligent people. We understand ourselves very well. हमारे old state में मतलब that state which is causing a disrupt for us or a negative state for us or being unresourceful. That state has certain words, has the certain way in which we move our body. It has certain pictures which come up. It has certain way of tonality. It has patterns. It leaves clues. Pick up, write down the clues or the words or the body movement which you have in your old state, which is very unresourceful. And next, what do you need to do? A, B ho gaya. A is what? Accepting that I have an issue. I need to deal with it. Second, breaking it. You have to break it. What do you do to break it? You just recognize those aspects, the patterns, and do exactly the opposite. That's how you can break it. For example, I'll give you one example. When you get angry, you're in a particular body movement, right? You can't get angry slumping down. You'll have to be up and, in charge. That's how you get angry, right? Or some people get angry by being silent. They go to the corner recluse and they are, mumbling away words. That's your pattern. Everybody has a different pattern. You need to recognize your own pattern. And you need to do what? Break it. How you break it? For example, if I get angry just by, exploding and standing up and picking up something, I have to do exactly the opposite. Run, get a glass of water and drink it. If you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting, sleep. Break your pattern. So first is awareness. Second is break your old state or your old pattern. And third, try to build a new pattern. And you'll see it really works. Whenever I get angry, my daughter has become an expert now. So whenever she sees me upset or angry, she runs to the kitchen, picks up a glass of water, brings it and gives it. So every time I'm getting angry or edging towards anger, I'm getting a glass of water. So I understand that the new pattern should be that I have to have a glass of water and change my vocabulary, right? If I'm using certain typical words, I have to change that. If there are some typical pictures which are popping up in my head, I have to change that. My tonality, I have to change. Get softer. When you get angry, break it and start using softer tones consciously, right? It really helps. It's just amazing. ABC of state change works wonders, right? Now, when there is a situation, we have 3 or 4 ways in which we all behave. The conflict usually jab hota hai, we behave in a particular way. One of the ways is like a wolf. I win, you lose. That's the whole goal. I am the one and you are nothing. That's the first part. This is studied over a large number of people, data collected, and it has been concise that people behave in these ways. Okay? Representation of the wolf or any other thing is just to make us understand how dangerous it is, right? So that it creates a behavior shift. So one, the people who say that I'm right, man, I am the one, I know, are the people who behave like a wolf, right? They want to be all the time aggressive, they want to win, and they want to put the other person down. This is one category. Second is like the sheep. I lose, you win. In any conflict, conversation, team, group, friends, relatives, family, there will be always these people. बेचारे पाम करके बोलते हैं ना हमारे उर्दू में. There are these kind of people who are like very submissive. Before even anything starts, they say, "Acha bhai, you are the one. You win. Yeah, it's okay. Just leave it." But both of them, being a wolf, being a sheep, is not right. Both are at the either ends, and they are the other one, which are the fake, the guys who they are also not interested. They are the completely passive ones. They're neither inside, they're not outside, they're completely drifted away, right? They say, I lose, you lose. No, I don't care about it. And this is the third kind of people, right? And the fourth are the people who are like the shepherd, right? A shepherd is a very responsible person, always targets that everybody should win, right? He has to ensure that there is a win-win situation across. These are four attitudes. You will have to understand where you fit in, right? And whichever you fit in needs, if there is need for you to improve, you'll have to choose the one which is really the the better one for you to be able to move from the 80 to the 20%. So really, who am I? Coming back to the first question, who am I? I can either be a person who's competing like the wolf, high on self, low on the others. Okay, this is a graph. This actually gives you a y-axis and x-axis about caring about themselves and caring about others, right? So this is an important point for you to understand that the the quadrant which says collaborating is the quadrant of leadership, quadrant of people who are in the 20%, high on self, high on others, right? They hold themselves in high esteem and they also respect other people. So they are like the shepherd, right? I win and you win. Whereas the wolf competing, I win, you lose. And then you have the fake people, fake, characters who say, I lose, you don't even care. They're always low on themselves, low on others, right? The other one is the sheep, low on self, high on others. So all the three brackets which you see, which are on the ends, competing, avoiding, and accommodating, are all not the right ways of dealing in conflicts or with people. You have to always look at collaborating style. So choose that. That will really help. 7 tips to demolish conflicts. So these are the tips. I think we just have time for me to complete this slide. Number 1, deposit into relationships before conflict occurs. What does it mean? Relationships are like bank accounts, right? When you open an account, when you go to a manager and open an account, you open the account and after that you say, sir, I have opened the account. How much can I withdraw? The bank manager is going to smile at you, right? He's going to say, boss, thoda deposit pehle karo, uske baad aap withdraw kar sakte hai. Unless you don't deposit, you don't have a right to withdraw. Unless we are able to do good stuff with people, deposit good emotions, contribute to their lives, unless that is not done, the conflicts are going to be increasing. If you're able to deposit, then once in a way when the conflict happens, people forgive you, right? So be a person who always deposits good emotions, good contribution, genuine efforts to make things work, genuine support, be there for people. Okay, don't be a fake. Don't be saying that the moment one of your friend calls up and says desperately need 5,000 boss, people usually respond saying, कल पूछना था यार मेरे पास पैसे थे, आज नहीं है. If you're really a genuine friend and you don't even have that 5,000, you'll try to arrange for that. At least 2-3 हजार arrange करके देंगे ना. So deposit in true acts into relationships. That's the first one. Second one, do not let the monkey grow into a gorilla. What does this mean? Wow. We usually let a conflict grow into a larger conflict by allowing it time. So if there is a conflict, resolve it. It's generally said that it's a good practice to resolve conflicts on the same day or the same time, right? Accept and respect differences. We are not all the same in this world. There are differences. The way I think, the way my son thinks, the way my mom thinks, the way my uncle thinks, the way my neighbor thinks can be completely different. Understand that, accept it beforehand. Listen and acknowledge facts, even if they may go against you. Sometimes what happens when we get confronted or cornered, we tend to react. Let it be, listen it out, check it with facts. If it is not fact, leave it anyway. If it is a fact, then try to make a change. Focus on solving the challenge, not changing the people. This is one of the most important things. People give up on people. It's not the people, it's the challenge. A person might be in an unresourceful state and has a conflict with you because that person might be ill. The person might be old. The person might not understand like you. You might be smarter than that person. So don't focus on the person, focus on the challenge. Say, maybe this person has a challenge. Let me try to help. Use a disassociated view. What is this? When sometimes our brains don't work, we have to call in for a third point of view, right? You can as well neutralize your own self and say, let me look at it from a different perspective. And then let me see how the conflict is valid. The last one, never shout, shut down, abuse, or walk out on others. This is very important. I think this doesn't need an explanation. Clean your slate right now. Activity or a good work you can do today is to call up two people whom you've had a conflict. Please do this. Please do this. Call up two people whom you've had a conflict. Talk to them. Tell them you want to get back, patch up, say sorry, say whatever it takes, clean it up. And if you can do this every night before you sleep, apologize, seek forgiveness, do your prayers and whatever, and sleep. You'll be a light soul, a light-hearted individual. All right, I'll have to close the session. Thank you so much. I think let's all thank this sister Shifa Noor who has hosted the session. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being around here. And I hope that whatever I have said and you people have shared as well, we are able to practice this to the best of our capabilities. Thank you so much and have a good night. Assalamu alaikum.